The day everything began to unravel was the same day my wife decided to laugh at me in front of an entire conference room. My name back then still felt like something that belonged to a quieter man. Merrick Tolver, a former accountant who'd recently traded spreadsheets for wooden boards and screws. My wife, Serena, stood across the room with a coffee cup in hand, watching me with a mixture of amusement and something colder. Next to her was her charismatic boss, Dravik Morel, and several of her coworkers. All of them were mid-laugh. They weren't laughing at a joke. They were laughing at me. It happened during a casual late office gathering when Serena brought me along after insisting it was just a friendly meeting. I should have known better. I was there for exactly 7 minutes before she decided to bring up my new business, my project of crafting handcrafted birdhouses. Merrick has a woodworking vision, she announced, smirking to the room. He left accounting to build little houses for birds. The room chuckled. Dravik leaned back in his chair and grinned. Birdhouse architecture, he said. That's bold. What's your expansion plan? Squirrel condominiums. Laughter erupted, sharp, unified, rehearsed. It felt like a slap I didn't expect. I tried to smile, but something inside me folded. It wasn't the ridicule itself. It was the way Serena watched it with satisfaction, as if humiliating me gave her oxygen. I left early that night. I didn't make a scene, didn't argue. I just walked out, went home, and sat in my garage-turned-workshop staring at the half-finished birdhouse on my table. The wood smelled warm and real. The laughter from earlier rang cold. I promised myself then that I would finish what I'd started, not just for me, but even more so despite her. The business had begun only weeks earlier. After my dismissal from the accounting firm due to budget cuts, I told Serena that I wanted to try something new, something creative. She brushed it off with a distracted, "We'll see," but I went ahead anyway. The garage became my sanctuary. I watched tutorials, read guides, studied patterns. It didn't feel like work, it felt like breathing again. My first birdhouse took me 2 weeks. It was crooked, uneven, rough, but it was sturdy, real. Simple in a way spreadsheets would never be. I showed it to Serena one evening. She looked at it like it belonged in the trash. "Merrick, are you serious? It looks like it was built by someone with one eye closed." Maybe she thought she was being funny, but she didn't laugh. She simply dismissed it and walked away. So I made another birdhouse, and another. Each one better, smoother, more precise. Something inside me woke up during those days, something I'd forgotten existed. And then came the farmer's market. That Saturday morning, I loaded 12 birdhouses into the back of my old pale blue van, my Sky Turtle, as Serena mockingly called it. She didn't come with me. She said she had a work meeting with Dravik. I didn't argue. By noon, I'd sold every single birdhouse, 12 of them, for a total of $430. One family bought 3, saying they were the most charming handmade pieces they'd ever seen. I packed up my empty table with shaking hands, unable to stop smiling. I drove home expecting, maybe for once, a spark of pride in her eyes. She didn't even look up from her phone. "That's fine," she said, "but you can't rely on that kind of money." Her tone was flat, bored, indifferent. I felt the high of the day collapse into something heavy. But I didn't stop. Orders grew. One customer asked me to build a miniature replica of his home. Another wanted a rustic design for his garden. I was suddenly earning between $600 and $700 every few weeks. I wasn't rich, but I wasn't failing. The strange thing was, the more my business grew, the more Serena drifted away. She spent more hours at work, more meetings with Dravik, more late nights. Sometimes she didn't come home until midnight. She always smelled like unfamiliar perfume. Not hers, not mine. I told myself it was stress. Work. Projects. I didn't want to think the alternative. Not yet. When Mrs. Valette Patterson, the owner of the largest garden center in our region, called me personally and ordered 50 birdhouses, I nearly dropped the phone. This was the first real contract, something that would push my business into actual stability. I told Serena that night, expecting something, anything. She shrugged. "That's nice, but I really don't have time to think about this right now. I have a 3-day strategic session with Dravik. Very important." I nodded, but inside, something cracked. For weeks, I worked 16 hours a day, fulfilling the Patterson order. I barely ate, barely slept. Sawdust clung to me like a second skin. My hands blistered. My joints ached. But there was a fire in me, one that wouldn't go out, no matter how she tried to extinguish it. Serena came home later and later. Sometimes she didn't come home at all. Then one night it happened. It was past 11. I was sanding the final birdhouse in the set of 50. Serena's phone buzzed on the couch. A message lit up the screen. She never left her phone unattended. Ever. I should have looked away. But something in me already knew the truth long before I read it. I picked up the phone. Dravik Morel. Room 217 tonight. Same as yesterday. I got the wine you like. My chest tightened. A noise left my throat before I could stop it. Half breath, half something breaking. I set the phone down, carefully, gently, like it was a bomb. Then I walked back to the garage and sat in the chair, staring into nothing. I didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't destroy anything. I simply sat there until the sun came up. The next morning, Serena got ready for work, humming softly, her mood strangely bright. She didn't notice that her phone wasn't exactly in the same place she'd left it. Big day, she said. We're reviewing last quarter's campaigns. I should be home late. Don't wait for me. She kissed her cup of coffee, not me, and left. I delivered the birdhouses to Mrs. Patterson. She was thrilled, showering me with praise I hadn't heard at home for years. But my mind was numb. The truth of the affair sat like a burning coal on my chest. Are you all right, Merrick? She finally asked. I don't know what made me say it, but I did. Do you happen to know a private investigator? Mrs. Patterson narrowed her eyes thoughtfully. As a matter of fact, Ido. She gave me a card. Tony Reven, Private Investigation Services. A man with sharp handwriting and a surprisingly calm voice. That afternoon, I walked into Tony Reven's small office above an auto shop. The place smelled like ink, rubber, and stale coffee. He listened to my story with the focus of someone who'd heard hundreds of them, yet still cared. You want proof, he said. I nodded. And you want it fast. I nodded again. He tapped his pen once. I'll have something for you in 3 days. He had it in 2. When I returned, he had a folder on his desk, thick and worn, as if the truth itself had weight. But what he said next hit me harder than any photograph could. Madik, Dravik Morel isn't her boss. The world tilted. He's not even employed at her company. He's a professional romance fraudster. Real name, Dravis Morvelian. He's hit women in at least 3 different cities. He opened the folder. Photos, hotel records, financial logs, screenshots of transactions, Serena's transfers, her gifts, her payments, her everything, all flowing straight into Dravis's pockets. I felt my throat close. She's giving him money? I whispered. She emptied 3 shared accounts, Tony said quietly. And she's trying to open a construction co-investment credit line. He promises returns. She believes him. He drains everything, then disappears. I couldn't breathe, couldn't speak, couldn't move. Your wife, he added softly, is being manipulated, but she is also participating willingly. Both truths can coexist. I closed my eyes. A storm was forming inside me. A storm of betrayal, grief, fury, and something colder than both. Justice. Because this wasn't just infidelity. This was fraud, a planned extraction. My life siphoned away behind my back. And at that moment, something inside me shifted, solidifying like cooling steel. I would not let this destroy me. Not like they expected. Not like Serena hoped. If she thought I was weak. If Dravis thought I was blind. They were both about to learn how wrong they were. The hardest part wasn't learning Serena was unfaithful. It was learning she was voluntarily destroying our future for a man who saw her as nothing more than a means to drain accounts. That kind of betrayal hits differently. It doesn't just hurt, it corrodes. And once corrosion begins, there's only one way out. Cut it out before it spreads. The morning after Tony's revelations, I parked 2 blocks away from Serena's workplace. I needed clarity. Not for proof, I already had that, but for timing. If I was going to stop the bleeding and expose everything, I needed to know exactly when she came, went, and where the holes in her lies were. She walked into the office at precisely 8:57 a.m. Nothing unusual. I stepped inside 15 minutes later and approached the receptionist with a friendly smile. Hi there, I said. I'm trying to confirm my wife's schedule. She said she's been working late, and I wanted to see whether she's available for dinner tonight. The receptionist blinked. Oh, Serena always leaves by 5. She's never worked overtime in the 3 years I've been here. Something cold pooled in my stomach. She works under who again? I asked casually. Under Marin Vallis, she replied. Head of communications. Definitely not Dravik. Not even close. Everything Tony had told me was aligning. Too perfectly. The lies weren't accidental. They were engineered. I left the building with my jaw clenched, so heart hurt. The next step required precision. I drove across town to the small office Travis rented, his fake digital consulting firm. The sign outside was printed on flimsy plastic. The blinds were warped. It was a facade so thin it would collapse if someone breathed too hard near it. Inside, I found exactly what Tony had warned me about. Stacks of fabricated client files. Photos of marketing campaigns that were stolen from other companies' websites. A fake business license taped to the wall. Wires running to nowhere. A laptop open on a desk with spreadsheets of victims. Women, dozens of them, each with notes. Emotionally dependent. Good income. Stable marriage. Exploitable. Suggests she can access joint savings. And then, near the middle of the list, Serena Tolver. Next to her name. Easy. Gives quickly. Strong guilt complex. Husband unaware. My fist tightened until my knuckles cracked. This wasn't love. This wasn't even lust. This was a feeding pattern. A parasitic cycle. I noticed something else. A digital ledger tracking deposits from Serena over the last 2 months. Between our shared checking, savings, and the credit line she attempted to open, she had given him nearly $21,000. But the worst part wasn't the number. It was the annotation next to it. Push for construction investment. Then exit. Exit. Meaning, abandon her. Leave town. Move on to the next. He was about to disappear and take everything she'd given, everything we had built, with him. I breathed slowly through my nose and pulled out a small device Tony had given me, a keystroke logger. I slipped it into the USB port of Travis's laptop. It was nearly invisible. Anything he typed would now be recorded. Passwords, plans, messages, everything. War had officially begun. That evening, Serena came home humming. The same tune she used when she wanted to distract me or hide something. It used to charm me. Now it sounded like nails down metal. Merrick, she said sweetly, I want to talk to you about something. A business opportunity. I nearly laughed. Oh, what kind? A tech startup, she said quickly. If we invest $50, we get a double return in 6 months. It's a guaranteed growth market. She was repeating exactly what Travis had rehearsed for her. It sounded like she was reading from a script. $50? Ooh. I said, just 50. Well, technically it's a starting point, she added. We should invest more once you feel comfortable. Her eyes flicked to my wallet, then back. I'd never seen her like this. Predatory. Not for herself, but for him. I kept my voice neutral. I'll think about it. She smiled like she'd won a prize. That smile used to warm me. Now it made me sick. An hour later, I checked my email. There it was. From dravis.consulting@techrise.info. Subject, too easy. Inside was a message that made my blood heat. Setting up Serena was simple. She's convinced I'm her ticket to a better life. I'll bleed her fast, then leave her before she figures it out. Husband is clueless. I stared at it for a long time. Then I printed it, slipped it into a waterproof plastic sleeve, and locked it into the small fireproof safe I kept under my workbench. Evidence. Insurance. A weapon. The tension in the house grew like a storm cloud. 2 days later, I confronted Serena. Not fully, not yet, but enough to push her. Why haven't you been home? I asked. She stiffened. What do you mean? You're gone most nights. Don't insult my intelligence. Her eyes hardened. I'm working. No, I said quietly. You're not. She froze. I continued. You leave at the same time every night. You come home at 2 or 3. You don't answer calls. You take your phone everywhere except last week when I saw a message from. She erupted. Are you spying on me? No, I said, but I'm not blind. She stared at me, fury and panic tangled in her expression. How dare you accuse me of anything, she snapped. But she didn't deny meeting him. Not once. She stormed out of the house, slamming the door like it was supposed to intimidate me. But I watched from a window as she drove straight to the Lakeshore Marriott, right where the message said, Room 217. My jaw set. I wasn't done. The next morning, she didn't come home. Instead, she left a short note on the kitchen table, printed from her office computer to avoid handwriting identification. I need space. Don't contact me today. A coward's message. She returned that evening acting like everything was normal. She kissed me absent-mindedly on the cheek. She showered. She ate half a salad. She said she needed rest. I said nothing. I learned silence was more frightening than shouting. Later that night, I called Tony. Document everything, I said. Every hotel visit, every transaction, every meeting. I want timestamps, photos, recordings if possible. He hesitated. You're preparing for legal action. I'm preparing, I said, for everything. 2 days later, Tony called me again. His voice was low, troubled. Merrick, it's worse. Ow. Your wife has been transferring money daily. Small amounts, but frequent. She's trying to hide the pattern. My heart sank. And there's more, Tony added. She just opened a co-investment credit line in your name. She forged your signature. Something inside me snapped. Not loudly, not violently, quietly, cleanly. The kind of snap that doesn't heal. Protect what you have left, Tony said. And I did. I froze our shared accounts. I canceled the joint credit cards. I transferred my business funds into a private protected account. I changed the passwords to everything, banking, utilities, my workshop security, even Netflix. By noon, Serena was locked out of the financial life she'd been pillaging. At 1:14 p.m., she called me. Merrick, my card isn't working. I know. Silence. Sharp, electric silence. What does that mean? She whispered. It means you can't take anything else. Her breath hitched. You froze them? How could you? How could I? I said quietly. How could you, Serena? Another silence, this one heavy. She hung up. The next day, Tony handed me a new report. You won't believe this, he said. He led me to the back office and opened a folder containing photographs of Travis's fake office. New photos, except the room was almost completely empty. He was preparing to vanish. But there was more. Tony placed 2 glossy prints in front of me. The first, Travis walking out of the Lakeshore Marriott with luggage. The second, Serena handing him an envelope. Thick, overstuffed, her expression desperate, hopeful, pathetic. Tony sighed. He's about to disappear with everything she's ever given him. She thinks they're starting a new life. He's leaving tonight. A calm washed over me, like I'd stepped into a different version of myself. Then tonight is when everything ends, I said. I arrived home before Serena. I waited in the living room with the lights off. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels deliberate. Around 7:40 p.m., she walked in. Merrick, we need to talk, she said breathlessly, locking the door behind her. Yes, I replied. We do. Her shoulders loosened slightly, as if she thought I'd softened. But I wasn't soft. Not anymore. I want to explain, she said quickly. There's someone who really believes in me. He sees potential in me that you. He's a fraud, I said flatly. She froze. He's what? He doesn't work at your company. His real name is Travis Morvellian. He's conned women in multiple cities. He's taking your money. He's planning to leave tonight. Her face shifted from confusion to panic to denial. That's not possible, she whispered. He loves me. He doesn't love you. He's using you. She shook her head violently. No, he promised. He said we were going to move, to build something. Build what? I snapped. A future on stolen money? A credit line you forged my name on? Accounts you drained behind my back? Her lips parted. She hadn't expected me to know. I didn't steal. You stole from both of us, I said. And you gave it all to a man who's already packed to leave you the moment he gets the last dollar. Her knees buckled, and she stumbled into a chair. Merrick, please. I didn't mean, but I was no longer listening. I stood, because I was ready, because everything was documented, because justice was a train already speeding down the tracks. I'm giving you 4 hours, I said quietly. 4 hours before I call the police. Her head jerked up. What? Why? No, Merrick, wait. 4 hours, I repeated. Tell the truth. Admit everything, or I expose you both. Tears filled her eyes, but tears couldn't erase betrayal. I walked past her, opened the door, and left. Behind me, her sobbing echoed through the house. But I didn't turn back. I had a destination and a final move to make. When I finally gathered all the evidence, I had enough to destroy both of them. But I didn't want to simply expose the affair. I wanted every laugh, every whisper, every moment they mocked me as nothing to come back and crush them. 1. The night of the company celebration. Her boss was hosting a corporate event. Perfect timing. The whole department, including my wife, would be there. I didn't come as a husband. I came as a man who already knew the truth. Calm, focused, unshakable. Before the event, I had already sent HR everything: screenshots, photos, audio recordings. There were even messages where her boss bragged openly about sleeping with a married employee. The company wanted to avoid a scandal, but I was about to give them the biggest one of the year. 2. The moment the room went silent. As I walked in, every head turned, because on the presentation screen, my flash drive had accidentally connected. Their messages were playing in front of everyone. The laughter died instantly. My wife turned pale. Her boss froze like a trapped animal. And I just stood there, watching 2 lives crumble. 3. Her desperate attempt to explain. She rushed toward me. It's not what you think. He manipulated me. I only loved you. But the only thing echoing in my head was her own messages, now being read out loud by the whole department. He doesn't even notice me. You're so much better than him. He's weak. My hands didn't shake. My voice was steady. You said it yourself. 4. The fall of her boss. Right then, HR stepped forward with the documents I had provided. According to company policy, you're fired. Effective immediately. They turned to my wife, and you as well. In a matter of seconds, both careers were over. Her boss tried to threaten, shouted that he would fix everything, but security escorted him out in front of everyone. 5. The night she lost everything. When we returned home, she fell to her knees, begging, sobbing, swearing she was stupid, that she'd do anything to fix it. But I needed nothing from her. I filed for divorce the same evening. All the property, which I had been smart enough to register in my name over the years, stayed with me. She left with 1 suitcase. 6. The present. She now works in a small cafe. Her former colleagues want nothing to do with her. Her ex-boss still hasn't found a new job. His name pops up everywhere online next to office affair and fired for ethics violations. And me? I rose, improved my career, rebuilt my life, found my worth again. Sometimes she sends long messages begging for a second chance, saying she lost the most important thing in her life. I simply reply, I didn't destroy your life. You did that yourself. And I closed the chat.